Hi, and welcome for lesson number 9, configuring networking or configuring network services on RHEL 8 operating system. So, in this lesson, we will talk about the agenda subtopics like understanding NIC naming systems and how to store, what are the ways we have to store the network configurations persistently, and we will use one of the two tools or two methods to work with storing the network configurations that will be using nmcli and nmtui. And also we will be looking into another topic which will teach us how to verify the network settings which are applied using nmcli or nmtui, whether they are applied properly as we wanted, and that we will learn in verifying network configurations. And apart from this, we'll also look into configuring the gateways and DNS settings for the RHEL 8 operating system. And the last lesson in this topic, we will look into the lesson where we will be using some of the network tools to analyze the network of Red Hat Enterprise Linux or any other Linux distributions. So if we have some of the issues related to network, what are the tools we can use, and how to verify if using that tools if it is a network problem. So these are the objectives that we are going to learn in today's lesson. Now, before we start, I want to give you an overview of how the networking will happen in the Red Hat or any other Linux distributions. So, but let's focus on RHEL 8 because that's what we are dealing with. At first, we will have our interface, which will be named anything. According to my scenario here, I have ENS 160. So that is my network interface card. And if you have a NIC, and that NIC will have a configuration files which will be stored under /etc/network -scripts, and inside this folder you will have a file created in the name starting with ifcfg, ipconfig, and your network interface name. If you have two interfaces, then you will have two different configuration files for each interfaces, and these configuration files will get updated, or these configuration files will obtain the settings through a service called network manager. And network manager is a service which is responsible for bringing the interfaces up and down, and it's responsible for keeping the network services up and running so that the machine can communicate with other nodes in the network. And these files again, these configuration files and settings will be pushed from two possible ways, that is nmcli and nmtui. And nmcli is a super awesome command line tool that you can work with to configure your network settings or modify your network settings and delete and troubleshoot. And nmtui is again, not I never use it, but it's again a good tool that where you can go and do some of the settings that you can do in nmcli. And nmtui is a text user interface where you will be interacting with an user interface in a text mode, and you will be configuring or troubleshooting your network things. And these are the components, or this is how your network settings will be working in your RHEL Red Hat operating systems or any other Linux distributions. Now, apart from this, you can also create a runtime configurations when you are stuck somewhere to troubleshoot something with your IP addresses. And yes, definitely you can do that using runtime configurations by issuing the IP command. And as I said, IP is a command which allows you to do runtime configurations, which means it's not going to stay persistently, only for runtime, which can be used for troubleshooting. So that's a very best tool that you can use. And whatever changes you're doing with IP command for runtime changes, it will not update the configuration file. Okay, so that's not happening. So if you think that those changes what I'm doing for my IP address or network settings using the IP command, it's doing only for the runtime, and nothing will be updated with those information for your configuration file. And that's all I wanted to talk about before we start working with LA and looking into the network settings. And apart from that, there is one more method you can do to configure your network settings for your interface by editing the file directly. So it's a very simple file and easy way to do it. But as an administrator, you never know that when you have to use an nmcli and I never use nmtui, and I'm sure that none of the administrators will never go and use nmtui, because that's a kind of not flexible or not comfortable for me. And as I said, you never know when you have to use nmcli, but according to me, believe if you are doing any configurations, you will be using nmcli. And always working with configuration file is not going to be enough for enough skills that you should have. So yeah, but I was just giving a quick tip on that you can use the configuration file directly by using the vim editor and in some of the settings. And apart from that, so that's all I wanted to talk about the components of the and how the network settings are done in or network is in Linux distributions. So give me a quick second. Let me go into my virtual machine. So we'll talk about the rest of the things from there. All right, guys. So as I said, the first subtopic in this lesson will be the naming mechanisms in the Linux distributions. So that is very important key information that as a Linux admin you should know, that how to identify a network interface name. So in nick naming systems in Linux, we have different types of doing it. Um, so BIOS naming will be by defaultly named from the system itself. So BIOS is going to make the decision and give a name for your network interface. So BIOS is one of the naming mechanism that your network interface will get a name. So your network interface name will look something like ENS. All right, I'm back into the uh, virtual machine here, and I'm sorry. In this virtual machine, I already have you know an interface which is already up and running. That is ENS 160, and I have an IP address of 4.200. So there is other command that you can use to check your interfaces and the IP address information. That is ipconfig. Ipconfig will give a little bit informations like this, and these are the two other interfaces. One is loopback, and the other one is my KVM virtual machines interface, which doesn't have any configurations. And you can see my ENS 160 is the interface that's up and running, and it has an IP address that is 4.200, and the net mask and the broadcast ID and stuff like that. So either you can run IP, or either you can run ipconfig to check your interface details. Now, for this session, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to start using one of my virtual machine settings. I'm going to change that. So I'm going to add a new interface to my virtual machine, so that we can start working on it. Right. Okay, we are back. Now the question is, how to check the new interface is connected to the machine or not. Again, you can use ipconfig command to verify if we have any new interfaces allocated to the machine. And there you can see we have an ENS 224, and it's directly picking up the IP address from this DHCP, because I'm using the NAT settings. So no problem, we'll try to fix that. And you can do the same thing by using okay, one second here. Yeah, so you can do that by even running the IP space a command to check your network settings. So these are the settings which were there. This is the IP address which got picked up by the DHCP, since I'm using a NAT settings. So apart from this, you can do nmcli connection show to look into the interfaces that you have in your operating system. I think there is one interface that's been already there with me. For some other lab, I was using two interfaces. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to delete that old interface, that is Ethernet ENS 224, so that I can start working with my new IP address or new settings what I'm going to implement. If I do an nmcli connection, so this time you can see that my previous I don't know, it somehow picked up the ENS 224, because I was doing it for one of my other things that I was trying, and I had two interfaces. But not to worry. So this is how you can use nmcli to delete one of the interfaces from your machine. Now, if you do nmcli connect device status, here you can look into some information. Now, since I deleted the Ethernet ENS 224, and that's the reason that the device status now it is showing as we have an interface. The first interface is ENS 160, type is Ethernet, state is connected, and the connection name is ENS 160. And we also have a line which is in red color, and that says ENS 224, type is Ethernet, state is disconnected. And now if I do system CTL restart network manager, so this is the guy who takes care of the network services for rel 8. And if you do ipconfig now, as you can see that my ENS 224 doesn't have any IP address. We have to do some configuration now, and my ENS 160 still remains the same as it has the previous configurations. All right, now let's start doing the things freshly. So this is a new interface for me now. It has nothing in it. Okay. All right. Now I have a new interface. Now I need to assign an IP address for it. What I can do. So nmcli connection add is a command, and you should select the interface name. There is one more very important thing I wanted to talk about here is the auto completion of nmcli. So after connection, I don't know what to do now. If I press double tab, immediately the system populates some of the possibilities for the next command. Now if I say add, and now I don't know what is the next command that I want to use. If I do double tab, there are a lot of things coming up, correct? So I want to go for if name. Okay, all right, that's the interface name. If I do double tab, it is asking which interface you want to select to add to the system. That will be ENS 224. Now I don't know what is the next thing I need to do. Press double tab. Again, it's asking too many things. Now here, so you can do is type. If you do double tab, you will have different types of network config, network setups. So you can go with VLAN or Wi-Fi, and by default we are using here as Ethernet. So that's the one we will be working with, right? If you are using it for Wi-Fi, you can definitely use the option Wi-Fi here. Okay. And after this, now what is the next thing I want to do? I'm not sure. Double tab. So it's asking a lot of possibilities here, but I know what to do, so I'm not going to do Y for that. So what I'll do, IPv4 dot addresses. So I want to add an IP address to this machine, 192.168.4. Let's call it as 4.6. So after 6, you have to use the CID or value. So please don't forget this. Otherwise, it can fall into the problems. So just make sure that you will use the CIDR values for your IP address. Now GW is the gateway, and you can mention your gateway here itself, or you can mention your gateway somewhere else. We'll look into that later. So this is my gateway. Now what I'm doing, I'm using an nmcli command to make a new connection, and I'm using the interface, the new interface which I added to the machine. And the type I'm going to select is Ethernet, and I'm actually giving an IP address to this interface, that is 192.168.4.6/24. And also you can make this as a method manual, which means only this IP address will be static for this machine, so it will not contact a DHCP or something like that. Okay, if you want to make this as DHCP, what all you have to do is just type auto. Okay, all right, let's make it as manual as of now and press enter. So you will see a message on the terminal saying successfully uh, added the new interface. Now after this, if we do IP space A, can you see that new interface, that is the number 6 ENS 224 is having the IP address 4.6. And if you don't see this change, don't panic. All you have to do is nmcli connection up, or you can do just bring down first e Ethernet ENS 224, and the same thing, make it as up. So this is like restarting your network interface in the operating system if you don't see any changes that you have made to the interface. So nmcli connection up, and the interface name is going to bring the interface up, and nmcli connection space down, and the interface name is going to deactivate the particular interface for your operating system. And you have another option. Now assume that I want to one more thing I want to show you here is, assume that your IP address is 4.6. Now you want to change it to 4.7. How do you modify using nmcli? nmcli connection modify, and what is the interface that you want to modify? You have to select that. So mine will be Ethernet-ENS 224, and after that, what do you want to modify? I want to modify my IP address, that is version 4.7/24. Don't forget that /24 or /16, whatever. So once that is done, nmcli connection, see, if I do IP space A, you can see that my ENS 224 is still having the old IP address. Now to bring the new settings into the effect, what you can do, connection down, Ethernet-ENS 224, and after connection, after down, let's go and bring this up once again. Now let's go and verify if I was able to make those changes coming to the effect. Can you see that? So it's been changed for the new settings which I did. So nmcli connection modify is a command used to modify things, and add is for adding things. nmcli connection delete space, the interface name is to delete the interfaces. Okay, all right. So that's a few things that I wanted to show you through nmcli. And if you want to change the DNS, that also you can do nmcli connection. Since we already have, let's say, modify and IPv4.dns. Okay, sorry, I haven't selected the interface, my mistake. IPv4, if you do double tab, you can see all the other options here. Now here I want to use the option DNS, and you can just go ahead and give the IP address here. That's it. After that, nmcli connection up Ethernet ENS224. Your new things will be back into the line. So now we know that how to, add the DNS IP addresses, add an, static IP address, and how to add a new interface. And if you want to make, things in automatic, then you have to use the method as auto. If you want to keep the IP address statically, then you have to use ipv4.method and space manual, and then you can give the IP addresses which you wish, like ipv4.addresses, which I showed you in one of the examples. Okay, and one important file I want to show you guys here, that is cat/etc resolve.conf. So once I made ipv4.dns as 8.8.8.8, immediately nmcli is going to update that information to one of the file called resolve.conf. So resolve.conf is a file which is responsible for having your DNS server's information. If you have any issues with your name server, all you can do is please go back to your resolve.conf and look, if you have entry again next to the name server, and that IP address is correct. Let's have a quick look into the verification part. You know how to verify the network settings that you have applied. So that will be nm IP space A. You can look the IP addresses that you have made changes for. And the other one is ipconfig. You can do to look what is the information. And apart from these things, what you can do is etc sysconfig network-scripts. That's the configuration directory. Let's look into the Ethernet ENS224. So this is what I was talking about in the beginning of the lesson. So this is the configuration file which gets the information from the tools like nmcli and the service like network manager. Everything is here. So boot proto is none, because I selected it as manual static IP address, not the DHCP, because IPv4 method we selected was manual instead of auto, and that's why it has none. And the gateway I specified is 4.2, and the DNS which I gave was 8.8.8. This is the device name, and this is the UUID of my interface. And apart from that, there used to be something called hardware address. I'm not sure if I can find it from my end. There used to be something called HWADDR. If you do ipconfig, wait a minute. Okay, that's not there. All right, no problem. Let's keep going on. I just wanted to show you the MAC address of the interface. And that's all about the verification part, doing the network configuration. And let's go and take a look into the nmcli. Okay, so let's press enter here. I'm not going to spend too much of time on that, because we never uses nmcli in our certification or in our real time, but just for knowledge purpose I'm going to show it. Please select a connection that you want to edit. Edit a connection, activate a connection, set a system host name. Now if you want to edit a connection, press OK and press enter. It will show you what all the active connection types you have. If you select ENS and use the arrow key, right arrow key, it will show add. That means you're going to add a new interface. Edit means you're going to edit that interface. So these are the informations. This is the MAC address I wanted to show you in the command prompt. Okay, so this is the MAC address of this particular interface. This is the IP address. If you want to make any changes, you can make the IP address changes. And here you can see IPv4 configuration is showing as manual because we did it as manual. If you want to make it as DHCP, then just go and change the network settings to DHCP. And this is the gateway, and this is the DNS server that we used it for. So I just want to cancel and go back. So this is a very simple text user interface that you guys can look into yourself and do the things. So I just don't want to dig in and show it that simple things that you can follow through the UI. Now that's all about the nmcli, and quickly let's look into the next subtopic, that is configuring routing or configuring the gateways and the DNS. We have already saw how to configure the DNS settings. Let's go and look into IP route space show. Is a command which is going to give the default gateways that each of your interfaces in the machine can talk or can interact or send the packets out of the network. So the default gateway is 4.2. That's the gateway what I have for both the devices, that is ANS. You can see here ANS 160 and ANS 224. Now that is how you can check the gateway information. Now let's say in case if you want to delete a particular gateway, so what you can do, you can use delete default via 192.168.4.2 and press enter. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm still working as some normal user here, so give me a quick. Let me switch to root user account. Even though that guy, that user has user Ansible has a sudo, sometimes it says it's not allowed. Default via 192.168.4.2 gone. Now if you do IP route space show, you will see only one default gateway, that is for ENS 224. So ENS 160's default gateway has been removed as of now. Now what you can do, if you want to add it back, IP route space add default via 192.168.4.2 and press enter. Now it's back again. If you type IP route space show, there you go. So it's coming back to the devices. So this is how you can add the gateways and you can delete the gateways. And as I said, for DNS, it's very important file will be resolve.conf, guys. So make sure that your DNS file is always updated according to the needs what you are looking for. Now apart from this, there is another way that you can do some of the changes, that is connection, um, edit, and let's say Ethernet ENS224. Now you will have some set of options there. If you want to do some things, you can type print to check what all the possible settings that you already have for this Ethernet 22 sorry ENS224. If you type print, it will show all the details for the existing interface that you have selected. So that's the UUID, and this is the IPv4 address, and this is the DNS address, and this is the gateway. So these are the three things which we had specified. Now if you don't know what to do, you can always type help here to get some of the help. Now let's say I want to set the gateway from this this setup utility. All you can do is type set space IPv4. If you do double tab, it will automatically show, and if you do double tab, now you have a lot of options there, so you can select which option you want. Let's say I want to change the DNS. So space, let's do 4.2.2.2. So I believe this is again a DNS which is for Google, and hit enter. Now once you hit enter, you can type save. So that will be without typing save, if you just quit from here, nothing will be updated. So you have to make sure that you will type save, and to confirm, you can type print and look into the things that is it changed or not. So it actually did not delete the previous one, but it just added another DNS to your DNS to your configuration file. So that looks a little bit decent for me. So instead of deleting, it just adds another DNS to your network configuration directories, or network configuration files, not directories, I'm sorry. Now after this, whatever you have done, you can type quit to come out from that, and let's do cat/etc resolve.conf. It still didn't update, right? There are some sort of bugs that will happen, man. Let's do a network restart and do CAD on /etc resolve. There you go. So after making any changes in the previous setting, environment, that is nmcli dial-up connections, so interactive connection editor, if you don't see whatever you have made the changes, as for example here, I had added another DNS, but it was not getting replicated, or it was not getting affected as soon as I saved and quit from it. If don't panic, just do a network restart, and again look for the things that you are expecting to get changed. You will definitely see something change there. So this is about configuring routing and not routing protocols and all. So just configuring your gateways and applying some DNS settings. Now going forward, there is another thing that I wanted to show you is host name CTL. If you type status, so it will give you the entire statistics of your host. So you have a host name that is control.example.com, and this is the virtualization platform, The operating system we are using is version 8, and that's the name of the version, and this is the kernel version what we are using, and the architecture is x86-64. So if you want to make any changes to your host name, you can do set host name space, let's call it as insta.ipa.example.com. Is it changed? uh, if you do host nmctl and type status, definitely it has changed, correct? But it is not changed here, correct? It still shows root at control. Don't worry, just close this terminal and relaunch the terminal. You should see that change. Okay, now my host name has been changed to enst IPA. That's how you can use the hostname CTL to look all type of information. It's not only just giving you host name, but it is also giving you what type of operating system and what is the kernel version, and definitely if it is a virtualization platform, what is it. So it's a lot of information, right? So who doesn't want it? Hostname CTL gives you informations like that within one place. Now, the last lesson on this topic, which I wanted to talk about, is some of the tools that we are going to use for network analysis. We already know a few of the tools, since we are in the network platform. We have host name command, which is used to check the host name, and a ping command to check the ping status. So this is the first default troubleshooting method if you feel that you have a network issue in your system. What you will do, you will try to ping that particular machine to see if I am able to contact that machine. And once you see that you are able to contact, that's fine. Your issue is resolved. Now, apart from that, if issue is not resolved, so what is the next thing you can do? You can use okay. Wow. Why typing the command trace route? Okay. There may be new things. So instead of trace route, you can use a trace path to see what's happening for the packets and where the packets are getting stopped, to make your network troubleshooting a little more effective, right? So this is telling you exactly what's happening and which hop is taking how much time. So trace path or trace route is a very good example to see where exactly your IP address is getting stopped or your request is getting stopped, to find or to investigate your network issues. Now, apart from that, you also have something called NS lookup to check your DNS settings if it's working or not. All you can do is www.google.com. So here it says that my DNS is 8.8.8.8 and it's working on a port number 53, and it is a non-authoritative answer coming from the google.com, and this is the address of the DNS server. So this is the zone. So you are getting a response for www.google.com from the DNS server that is 8.8.8.8. So this is how you can look into the NS name servers lookup to find you know if your DNS is working fine or not. If my DNS was not working fine, then definitely I would have definitely I would have been seeing some of the errors on my terminal instead of the IP addresses and the DNS server's name of yahoo.com or the google.com. So NSLookup is again a very powerful tool when it comes to troubleshooting your DNS issues in the machine. And one more important command that I want to show and close off this lesson, that is netstat. Netstat is a powerful utility or powerful tool that all the system administrators should be knowing in Linux platform, because netstat is a command that's going to show you the statistics of a particular service which is running in your system. Now what I did was, using netstat command, I checked the port, everything, and network, and the TCP, and L is for listening. So PANTL is a very good option, and I piped it to grep and checked for my service called SSH. So my goal here is to look into the port which it is open, and whether it is listening from any of the machines or not. So this is the main concept that I wanted to show you. So if you want to do any troubleshootings, you can use netstat as a very powerful tool that you can keep looking for. If you do press enter here, so these are the things which are currently active in my network layers on the operating system. So that's it. So it's going to give you the port number, it's going to give you the state, it's going to give you the IP address, which is listening from foreign address to local address, and what type of protocol it is. So pretty much simple, right? So netstat is a very powerful command which will give you the statistics of your network services. If you want to specifically grab it for something, look for something, pipe it for something like HTTP or SSH or anything, right? Cool. So that's all for my end for the lesson number 9 for network configurations. And I believe this is pretty much easy to do it from your end. And please ping me back if you have any questions that you want to check with me, and I will be definitely there to help you out over the WhatsApp or over the calls, whatever. So that's all, guys, from my end for today's lesson. So we'll catch you up in the next lesson. Until then, take care, and bye bye.